Today's quick civics lesson is about FEMA and the role FEMA plays in responding to the wildfires in California. In case you're wondering where I'm getting these sources, you can find a lot of this information on the FEMA website, which I've included in the notes. Here we go. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which was created in 1978, is in charge of responding to national, state, and local emergencies when local and state resources are not sufficient or when the emergency is on a national scale, like for example, COVID-19. The fires broke out, local fire departments responded, were quickly overwhelmed as far as the size and scale of these fires. They had state resources come in, and then in order for the state to get FEMA funds, the governor actually needs to declare a state of emergency and request FEMA funds from the president directly. So that's what happened. Governor Gavin Newsom said, this is too big for the state to handle on its own. President Biden, would you give us some emergency aid in the form of FEMA funding and FEMA resources? For what it's worth, just because a state requests federal aid does not mean that they will get it. The president has the right to say, yes, this is an emergency, or no, it isn't, and allocate those funds or not. In this case, President Biden said, yes, the federal government will respond. FEMA is funded by the taxpayers. There's an annual allocation, meaning the amount of money set aside in the budget regularly is around $20 to $23 billion in the last couple of years. Now, that is almost never enough money to cover any sort of outstanding emergencies, especially ones on the scale of these wildfires, which are costing billions and billions of dollars. So that means that the federal government needs to add supplemental funding to the funding that FEMA already has available. That money often is in the billions and billions of dollars, and it's gotten more expensive to respond to emergencies every single year, especially over the last 10 years. Once FEMA has been called into action, there are different teams in FEMA that are trained to respond to different kinds of emergencies, including fires. They'll work with the state and local governments to get them the people, the stuff, and the money they need to respond in the short term. And then in the long term, FEMA is often providing funding for repairs, rebuilding, and recovery. So FEMA may be injecting funds into Los Angeles for many years down the road as the state recovers from these wildfires.